Hi everyone, welcome to Ethernal Realms and welcome to this reading. We will see what guidance messages are here for you for the year of 2023. I will be dividing this reading into 3 portions. One will be what the takeaways are from 22 and will be useful in 23. The next question is what needs to be let go and surrendered, also what is losing steam, so you don't need to focus on that anymore in 23. And also the third question will be what specific perspectives and attitudes we need to adopt for this coming year to maximize the use out of this. And then we'll get into the general guidance and also your astro dice. So we have pile 1 over here, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. Make sure to choose your reading with your intuition. If you're not sure how, the video in the ribbon above will guide you through it. And once you've made your choice, the reading will be in the timestamps in the description box in the comment below. So whenever you're ready, we will get started. Pile 1, welcome to your guidance reading. Let's get into it. I've already shuffled some cards for you. 3 questions I will be addressing. One is what you are taking away from 2022 that is going to be beneficial for you. So the lessons you've learned that are going to be useful in 2023. Next, we talk about what is losing steam, what is being released, what has been surrendered in 2022 that is also going to be benefiting you or leading you to the next stage of growth. And also we talk about in the third question, what perspectives and attitudes that are most beneficial to adopt for this year to make the maximum use out of it. And then we get into the general guidance, which I will look into at the very end. And then we have some astro dice as well, as always. So yes, let's get into it. The first question. We have Temperance coming up. We have the yin and the yang. Yeah, so balancing of energies. And we have Ananta as well. This is a very rich card. It's actually corresponding with the Fool, but it's a little bit more than that. It kind of takes into account reincarnation, the bigger scheme of things, basically. Where do we go? Where do we come from? Where does consciousness arise, etc. It talks about closing out cycles that are done and dusted. There are some major lessons that you might have learned in 2022, lessons about balancing your own energy, of going with the flow, taking certain risks. Because in this imagery with the Fool especially as well, it's scary. The outside world is scary. In the womb, you're in the safe comfort of your mother and you are being taken care of. The resources are there. You have a lot more help. But once you come out into the big wide world, there's everything that we need to take upon ourselves bit by bit, and that can feel a little bit scary because it's out of our comfort zone. So Temperance and Anant together seems as though you worked on balancing or moving in a balanced way, regardless of what scary things or what new things you were trying out. You could have tried to move outside of your comfort zone and at the same time carrying your security with you. So the most important people in your life, or a counterpart of sorts. If you're in a relationship, it could be your partner that is walking along with you in this previous year, who could have taught you very important lessons of oppositions, of balancing, moderation, patience, flow, harmony as a whole. They could have helped you find new things a little bit less scary. It can also be an internal push where you're balancing your oppositions. So I want to do this, but this is holding me back, for example. So the light and the shadow attributes, you are much better at bringing those things together and working with them instead of against them. That way the fight within is reduced and we can take on a new stance for life. The Temperance is really, really rich in that regard. I feel there is a healthy balance of vitality, action, expression, as well as intuition, understanding, and observation. This can help you form better relationships in the coming year, in this year. Actually, it's already begun, right? In 2023. And also allows you to have a very fresh but healthy start. Any turbulence from previous years, and most likely feel in 2020 and 2021, those things were starting to balance out a little bit in 2022, and now you're ready for a fresh new beginning. Okay, so the lessons were super important. Both are major arcana cards, so major year for you, but it really sets the ground and the pace for this year as well, to have a very good start. Okay. Now let's see what is losing steam, what we need to let go, or we have let go of, what we have surrendered, and that is being beneficial. We have the Ace of Wands first, and we have Destiny, or the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so, what is being let go or removed from your life sort of is the fateful interventions. Okay, Destiny is kind of the hands of fate spinning the threads in order to make a story happen that is most in alignment with the soul and the desires of the soul, plus taking into account where the universe itself is evolving. So it's a large scheme of things that we don't really understand from a local perspective. So in our everyday life, it feels as though we are meeting unexpected people, or we are going through unexpected things, and we don't see where things are going or happening, where is it turning, etc., etc. So Destiny, because it's a large scale thing, we don't have a lot of control on it. We just have to go with what comes. Sometimes it's really great stuff, opportunities and so on, that just come our way surprisingly from unexpected sources, or from unanticipated sources, I would say. But at other times it can be just certain things just losing steam, just some friendships falling out, some relationships just not panning out, things like that, which we expect but does not need to function according to our expectations, because Destiny is much larger than that. Ace of Wands is a very exciting card. It's all about new beginnings, writing, music, self-expression, passion, that first spark of light. So what is losing steam here is the reliance of fate, or the reliance on the universe to provide. Instead, you're able to take more of your own stance. So you are in the steering ship, you are steering it. And Ace of Wands is like, because it's the first bud, it can just come and go. So there could have been many moments of highs, but it's not necessary to have been carried out. So it can be in the form of having many ideas, but not having enough time to develop on those things, because there are other things of greater importance that you are working on in 2022. So that is being released from your life, so that you can take on more authority, and this way you can decide now from a different perspective whether you want to carry out all of those ideas, or do you want to go with one or none of them, right? Either way, what I'm feeling is more control for you, but the lack of control, or the ability to let things be as they are, gives you a lot of strength for 2023 to make maximum use out of it already. So it seems as though everything in 2022 was sort of training you, or giving you the foundations, the necessary ingredients to make something happen for yourself. In whichever direction that you choose. Okay, music, writing, any other artistic or passionate expression, those things could have been on your mind. You could have gotten the first spark of inspiration, but perhaps have not carried out the whole thing yet. And there were certain other things that you were working on, like moving in a balanced manner instead of only action. If there is no holding back and observing and reflecting on whatever has been done, then the growth is quite shaky, and we might always be afraid of something crumbling or not panning out. But when we are in a level-headed perspective, then we're better able, or better equipped internally to deal with whatever comes. So that moves me to the perspective and attitudes that we need to adopt in order to make max use out of this year. We have Six of Swords. Interesting. This is a growth mindset card. Okay, and we have Two of Cups. Okay, collaborative. So working with other people, maybe in duets. So like working, it could be like singing with another person, kind of riffing off them, things like that, if that applies. Or it could be that you're let's say you're goal setting and you need a little bit extra motivation to get through those goals, so you can set them with another person who has similar objectives as you, and that way you can kind of collaborate, and you can see what the common pitfalls are, and you can help each other out, and that actually helps each individual as well. This can talk about moving on from toxic relationships. If you have healed in the previous year, then this year is kind of asking you to move away from those types of patterns so that you are more open to meeting a healthier long-term relationship, if this applies to relationships. Now, in other perspective, this is just a goal orientation and be and flow, kind of what you have learned already as a lesson in temperance, but also it combines with not being rigid about the quality of the work, for example, or the project or the interest that you have that you want to develop. So instead of going from, oh, I don't sing and I would love to sing, to, I want to be the best singer in the world, instead of doing that whole flip, we can go at it bit by bit. Right, so if you want to learn piano or violin or some other instrument, guitar, let's say, you want to go at it chord by chord or note by note instead of aiming from the first go to finish the entire song perfectly, right? So that mindset is going to allow you to have a better peace of mind throughout the year. It leaves you open for other people's honesty as well. There can be openness in communication, or that's what is being asked of you to adopt. Ask for other perspectives of supporters, not necessarily seeking out opposition in order to validate or not validate your work, but like your friends, for example, or if you have a partner, then your partner, or anybody who is a loved one and is very close to you and gives you their honest opinion, without being hurtful or overly critical in that way. They can be a very, very good support system. If you work with clients, if you are dealing with one-on-one relationships in your everyday life, work or not, this is saying be open to like receiving information or perspectives from them. Six of Swords is giving me the vibe of moving towards something greater, taking what is essential from the previous year, not getting bogged down by these serious details of it. Instead, kind of trusting how things are going. I feel like you already are doing that, and it's kind of a skill in your toolkit now with Temperance and Anand, but this is like the next level of it. It's the practice of that, right? We're already out in the open world now in 2023, and we're ready to meet new people. We're ready to achieve new things, move to new places. There could be relocations and travels that are coming up for you, and that can be super beneficial too, because you're exploring new worlds and you're automatically put in an open and explorative mindset when we are going to new places. Okay, so that's the perspective to adopt, not goals, but growth. All right, and stay in flow. Stay in flow. Okay, I'm just going to leave this here. I'm going to overlap the guidance messages. All right, so general guidance. We have White Eagle, which says the connection to divine guidance is within you. Yeah, because I feel you've learned a lot. Your own experiences are such good guiding points. That they can be like really useful for you, like throughout the year. That's when the white eagle or the white birds actually come. They are symbols of divinity and purity, kind of connects us to the infinite essence that is already within us. Same goes with Anant. Like when we are in the womb, we're still in a spiritual form, but we're taking on a human form. We're sort of in the transition phase where we belong to both worlds. So we kind of are aware of both sides of things, but we might not know how to coalesce those different worlds yet. So this year is kind of understanding what each lesson was from your interactions, from the goals, from your losses and gains and all of those things, and finding the common thread or the meaning or the purpose behind those things as well. It can be, again, just learning a new skill that you did for fun. You were going with the flow and you're just having fun. That's it. You did not think that it would pan out into something more. But in this year, you definitely have a chance to make that something more if it is your choice. I keep saying that because it's really emphasized as to, it's not going to be destiny pulling the strings this year. It's going to be you deciding which way you want to go. Of course, there is like an overarching theme of, that seems like a good opportunity, or that place seems like I would flourish over there. Those connections seem more my vibe instead of the ones that I've been interacting with, etc. But that is more subject to your personal growth instead of the universe pushing you or really strongly nudging you in any specific direction. Okay. Yeah, definitely full of growth here. So listen to your own guidance, because that's super helpful. That's why I think the Two of Cups is as well coming up, because when you're helping others, there are, the way that you put something together for the benefit of them turns out to be an extremely helpful thing for you. So the guidance that I give here, for example, that's not something that I just usually think about with coffee or whatever, right? But when I'm explaining something, I realize a different perspective of something that has already been dormant inside, but that ends up helping me in my everyday life too. So yeah, by helping others, you are able to help yourself too. Then we have Pheasant, which says, the time is ripe for creation and connection. Focus your attention in these areas. Absolutely. This is creation, that does not have a solid goal. It does not have a deadline, right? It just has to be done right, or it's ready when it's ready, basically. Same goes with connections. We can't just decide that by this year I'm going to be fully in love, with this specific person at this specific place with this. It's not that rigid. It just happens, right? These things just go with the flow of things. I love that you've already learned that in the previous year, so you're applying that in a more tangible manner. So the way that you connect with one other person, the type of relationships that you form, or the type of people that you attract, and that has a domino effect on then your experience of love and relationships. It's likely to find a soulmate union here, so focusing on connections, building authenticity, having open communication, expanding gradually instead of trying to rush something to happen, etc. Those things are your guidance here. Once again, if you work with people, consulting one-on-one, other professions or so, this is saying you can meet a lot of different people, and all the skills you've learned for yourself in the previous year is going to be super helpful for your growth in the coming year, in this year. So I just keep saying that, it just began, right? All right, then we have, my energy creates my reality. So what I focus on is what I will manifest. Yeah, that's true. And energy is a combination of your intentions, your thoughts, your feelings, and therefore your actions, right? It's not just that we thought of something once, so now it's going to manifest, but energy is more that focused vibe that you're creating for yourself, basically, right? If you keep thinking negative and you are doing something negative and you are feeling negative and you're intending something completely different, then by nature we are attracting something that is contrasting and also kind of lowering our mood as well. So yeah, it's a whole combination of many different factors that comprises our energy or our vibe. But either way, it is definitely stemming from us, many of these things. So it's kind of in your court now. What do you want to focus on? That's exactly what you are going to manifest. So if there is something that you're not enjoying about a part of a process, then it's a good thing to look inward and see if there is a similar contrast or dissatisfaction that is there within ourselves as well. If not, good, it's a temporary thing that's on the external and it is going to pass on. But if there is an internal cord that is making a certain reality happen, then we can rectify those things. But first we need to have some awareness, right? So absolutely, last year has set up the platform, the grounds basically for you to create on in 2023. A lot of creation, a lot of manifesting abilities. It is up to you what you want to create, okay? This year basically is all about taking up power, taking up space, not being apologetic about that. Not in the sense that you're impeding other people. Quite the contrary, you're supporting them as well while making your own space and your own voice heard. Next, we have Rajas, which is about dynamic movement. It's about a lot of action and passion as well. We have the tiger emblem here, which symbolizes courage and strength and protection as well. A lot of ambition, goal orientation, just a lot of power and stamina that you have this year. So creation, once again, is a very constructive use of passion. The downside is rage and aggression. So like I said, everything is going to be dual. Everything has its good and bad sides. But 2022 has prepared you for that and how you can tread the line or transform these different qualities each thing has to make the best out of it. right? So this year is going to be putting that into action. All in all, this can feel like a very quick year, as if you've just constantly done a lot of things and you're being asked to do that in order to maximize it. There's a lot of momentum in 2023 as a year for all of us. So with like huge planet shifts, okay, Pluto is moving, Saturn is changing signs. After many years, all of these things are happening. So absolutely is a pivot point. It changes the flavor of things within the collective, and it sparks different ideas within each and every individual that makes the collective happen. So yeah, take action towards your dreams. Then we have Durga again with the tiger emblem. That's interesting. That's being repeated twice. So you have a lot of energy and courage here. You're also being encouraged a lot. So anytime that you feel low and down, please don't think that you have nobody, because you absolutely do. The thing is, in the previous year, it was the universe or your guides and so on kind of being more proactive or making signs and synchronicities a lot more known. But in this year, it is more being encouraged to look within and find that same guidance through yourself. Right? So initially it can feel as though you are going really fast and you're not really sure if you're going in the right direction, or if what you have learned is enough, or is the foundation solid enough, etc. Right? Or is this the one, or is this a temporary relationship that you want to learn something from, and so on and so forth. There can be questions, but through questioning and asking yourself many of these things, you find greater clarity as the year progresses. So have faith in yourself. Use the moderation and patience you've already learned to further your life and your growth this year. So yeah, Durga is about the strength and ferocity and protection as well. So if you want to do something, go ahead and do it. I feel you have plenty of ideas here. Don't hold yourself back, basically. You have a lot of drive for a reason. You have ambition for a reason. And your free will is basically the one wanting to be exercised this year. All right. Then we have the mother archetype, and we have Thanatos. This is about death, and mother is about creation. Okay. So things that have ended, the processes that have ended have done so because it was time. Okay. It's time to emerge. So fears, insecurities, dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it, things that you've been dealing with that were not so pleasant, but by doing so, you're finding greater acceptance and equilibrium. That kind of makes you ready to be in a better position to help yourself and also the people around you. If you have children, then you're bonding much better with them. If you want children, then you might be, clearing out some fears that you might have about being a parent, or the responsibilities that come with it. Are you ready for that? If not, what is stopping you? What needs to happen for you to be ready, etc., etc. But the mother is also about nurturing, caring, and creativity. It's about observing and being intuitive as well. It's very much connected with the divine feminine energy. We have Durga as well, which is a fierce mother. And the temperance here is represented by a female. Usually it's kind of a question mark gender in many of the decks, but over here it's a female, which is symbolizing the malleability of things, where things are flexible. We don't need to stay stuck to a rigid system. But just because things are flexible does not mean we have to feel lost either. It's very interesting that you have Anant, which is being within the mother and inside the embryo, that's being an embryo in the womb and so on, kind of getting ready for everything. And the mother is the creator itself, right? So this year, like I was saying, there's a lot of creative flavor to it, and it's up to your willpower. You definitely have a lot of masculine drive too, but the predominant thing, it's sort of like you want to do something creative, let's say. You want to create something, but you're going to use masculine ways of getting to that point of creation. So you have to take action at some point, right? Neither can exist without the other. They have different, very different skill sets, and both are needed in their healthy archetypal behavior in order to make harmony happen, right? So I really like that the cycle of, there is a death of the cycle of, observing and being in seclusion, or thinking about what's to come, or being in the dark night of the soul. And this year, coming out into the open, you're nurturing a project, you're taking care of yourself, loving your loved ones, you're being loved by your loved ones, and so on. You're absolutely taking on the guide role for yourself, self-guidance, self-preservation, self-appreciation, and so on. Because when the mother starts depending on someone else for her care, her peace of mind, etc., then that's when the negative representation of the mother archetype happens, where it is very stringent and stifling as well. The love that she wanted to protect, she's now stifling because she wants it done a specific way. But the idealistic version, or the more positive expression of the mother, is that she gives something space so that it can bloom in the most healthy manner. Right. So these are some choices that you would have to make here. And anything that you end has a reason. It has a reason for a higher level of living or attitude towards the self, etc. Therefore, everything that you create has also greater value for you. Like we saw here, my energy creates my reality, and what you focus on is what you will manifest. Okay. All right. Now, last messages. Let's see. I want please guidance for 2023. We have Venus, second house in Aries. Yeah, see, this is again the combination of the masculine and feminine energies. Your self-worth is absolutely boosted. You feel good about your appearance, your capabilities, the things you create, things you make happen, the initiatives you're taking. You're more driven to, heighten your income if that resonates for you. There are creative ways and solutions that you can figure out, or you're being asked to figure out, to empower your financial sphere or your sense of self-importance and self-worth as well. Okay, so pay attention to what you value, what you don't value and does not have place in your life anymore. Release those things and adopt different qualities that actually enhance you. So yes, that's what I have for you, Pile 1. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the reading resonated and that it helps you out. Let me know your thoughts. If you want a personal reading, you can reach me via Etsy. The link is in the description box in the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye. Hi Pile 2 viewers, welcome to your reading. We will see what the guidance messages are for you for this year. I've divided this section into 3 questions basically. One is, what are the takeaways from 2022 that are going to be useful for you in this year? Then we ask about what is losing steam or being released, needing to be surrendered from the previous year in order to make the most out of this year. And finally, what the perspectives or the attitudes we need to adopt in order to maximize this year as a whole. And finally, we will get into your overall guidance messages and some astro dice as well. So let's get into the first question. What are your takeaways, major lessons from the previous year? We have the 10 of Pentacles. And we have the Moon. Okay. So learning about your illusions or unknown things within the family regarding legacy, financial stability, career, future, etc. That could have come up in the previous year. The moon also symbolizes your intuition and subconscious fears. So, if you were listening to your intuition throughout the year, then you were guided into more, financial bliss and stability. If you were feeling afraid of certain things, then it could have taken you into the roots of your fears in order to figure out where they come from so that you experience better stability and bliss as well. It could have been a long process though, because the moon is quite mysterious and it takes a very long time to just understand the message to begin with. And there can be many different factors that seem connected that may or may not be connected. It's all up in the air, sort of. But what this particular card symbolizes is projection. So this hand here, it looks so foreboding. It's like, oh my goodness, who is this controlling my every move, my emotions and my intuition, etc. But when you look a little bit closer, then this lady is holding on to a bowl and basically she is the finger here. It's just a projection from a different perspective, right? So certain fears and illusions that have been there or have been showcased by the external world, more specifically your family, your home life, your roots, ancestry, etc. Those things can also be already present within you. So being afraid of financial security, for example, there could have been certain losses that made you fearful about this, but in actuality we already had the fear, and the external world is a demonstration of that to point us more towards what is happening in the inner world, right? So we need to fix the fear itself instead of fixing the outside world. And the fixing or the understanding and the acceptance, etc., that we do in the inner world is then translating to that same projection in the outside. So yes, the first sentence that I said, that is coming through once more. Also, you could have learned some family secrets or talents that have not been expressed by anybody, and you have these dormant traits, for example, psychic abilities, or long-term genetic kind of suppressions showing up, or like a tendency to be stressed out by certain things, or the inability to deal with a lot of changes and so on. Those could be a genetic or a more generational trait that is there but has not been inspected before. But in 2022 it could have come up here quite obviously, at least towards the end. Apart from that, the Ten of Pentacles talks about legacy. So you could have a lot of big dreams and ambitions, aspirations, etc., and you want to achieve those things, but there could be a lot of fears standing in your way. So fears of success, for example, fears of failure, fears of how other people would receive it, or how family would take this change, or a difference in our own perceptions of reality. So if they're like, the world is great, what are you talking about? Meanwhile, you're like, really? I mean, there are some things that are just simply not great. So, we have a difference in opinion or a difference in perspective, right? Which is completely based on experiences. So yeah, you could have felt a little bit isolated from time and again in the previous year because you were busy doing more practical things, or you were tending to other responsibilities, and that gave you a little less time to deal with your own self. But that only emphasized the need for the inner world and having strong foundations and roots within. The moon also symbolizes our ability to deal with emotional up and down. So what would have started out in a more moody manner then became a lot more stable. There could have been some vivid dreams and intuitions that came to you, and at first you might not know what to do about it, but later on you figure out how you can use that to your advantage. So these are not easy lessons basically when the moon shows up, but everything that you learn is now being useful to create more stability and prosperity and bliss as well in 2023. Okay, so what is being released here? Let's see. We have Six of Wands, and we have Page of Swords. So any disagreements with family members, or again, discordant thoughts regarding family, even if it was not like a full-blown face-to-face confrontation or whatever, that is being released here. There is more discursive approach instead of, wanting to win something. So any prideful or egocentric decision making that we were doing, that is ending, that it actually has ended, has been released in 2022, but now we're kind of finishing that off. We're recognizing that, okay, this much pride is not good, or this is the ego talking and it's not my intuition saying anything. Pages are about messengers, right? Page of Cups is about emotional messages or more love-centric messages. Meanwhile, Page of Swords is just literal conversations that you get. So yeah, it can be in the form of family confrontations or disagreements where you're like, okay, I don't have to be right, to each their own. That's that type of mentality that comes in the end. Or it can be in terms of just general discussions. It could be more, in a debate perspective instead of discussion. But in 2023, that is shifting toward discussion versus instead of debating. So there is no clear winner, and there needs to be no clear winner. Pages also ask about, where is this information coming from? Okay, so there could have been a sense of paranoia in 2022 as to what do you accept, what is true, what is not. It's all confusing. Meanwhile, you could have adopted a more critical approach to thinking about certain things, but then there were certain times when that did not work, or it was insufficient, and you needed to listen to your intuition as well, especially when it came to dealing with some personal concerns, right? So Paige also asks, is this information coming from the outside world or the inside world? If it is the inside world, is it coming from the ego mind, or is it coming from the intuition? Fear-based thinking is usually ego-based. It's actually always ego-based, because fear needs truth to survive. It kind of bends the truth in a way that it feels a little bit more foreboding or scary, right? It's not a very objective standpoint. So anything that is not objective automatically becomes, subjective reality-based, aka the ego. So yes, there could be a lot of examination of these things, and a releasing of toxic thought patterns, more specifically, and the need to be the best, or the need to be winning all the time, or being very competitive, and so on and so forth, which are part of the Six of Wands. Because like I said, what lessons you've learned is moving towards the inner world, expanding your sense of self-awareness, understanding your place in the world and how you can impact on a larger scale, instead of individual growth, or individual familial growth as well. Six of Wands actually wants to be the leader of the world, kind of, okay? It's the lion, so it wants to be on stage, and it wants to pass on a message of meaning, but it's also the influencer card, sort of, so the message is passed on by showing up a front or a facade, which is quite inherent to anything related with social media. But that does not mean that everything that is said is wrong, right? It is up to us to kind of discern for ourselves what is suitable, what is not, etc. So Six of Wands can be that you try to be something, or you want to be a certain thing, but in the previous year it could have been for the wrong reasons, or the intention was not very clear defined, and for example, seeking fame or popularity could have been the end goal, but that automatically means being at war with others who are seeking the same thing. But that is being released here, or is being asked to be released, so it depends on where you are in this whole equation, so that there is more peace, bliss, and sense of community as well. Ten of Pentacles is about that everybody band together, everything be together, regardless of our differences. We can still aim towards common goals. That's not a problem, and whether we reach first or last or second or whatever else in the ranking that we can find, we ultimately, are we reaching the place or are we not? In that sense, it's quite black and white, right? So yes, feelings of pride and egocentric behavior, fears and pride, etc., can be let loose. All right, so the attitudes and perspectives to adopt. We have the Lovers coming up, and we have Nine of Swords as well. Okay. It's interesting to see Nine of Swords in a guidance position. Like, yeah, you should do the Nine of Swords. When in actuality, it's quite anxious and paranoid and all of that. Okay, so in a positive sense, what this means is kind of make a choice, make conscious choices of what thoughts you want to adopt. The thoughts you surround yourself with, the people that you surround yourself with, the types of conversations that you share with these people, how meaningful is something and what is not, and so on. It feels like a decluttering vibe, that, release connections that are absolutely toxic for you, release thought patterns that are toxic for you, make different choices in what you fill your mind with, basically, right? So that can help you with any fears and paranoia that you face in general. What else? I was getting something else. Nine of Swords can be like a lot of thoughts. It basically symbolizes that, right? So in a very positive sense, when I do like a prediction for the day for myself, I get Nine of Swords. It's usually, nowadays at least, it means that I have so many ideas that I don't know when to do them, or how to execute them. I don't have the details, but I just have a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas. So it's not necessarily a horrible, drastic thing, especially when it's with the Lovers here. So it can be talking about, reading more things or listening to more educated people or more experienced people, collaborating with more experienced individuals as well, who can show you the many ways or many perspectives of operating in your circumstances. So if you have a certain fear, then you can, meet up with someone who has a specific fear like that or has worked with that fear in a previous time in their life, and they can give you certain guidances, because Nine of Swords is like you might get a lot of different perspectives and opinions, and it is going to be up to you to make the final choices here. What else? Yeah, this is a partnering and collaborative type of a perspective that we need to adopt. So not stifling our fears, not keeping it to ourselves and putting up a front or a facade, but rather sharing that with someone from an open place, and not being afraid to be afraid, because everybody feels fear, everybody gets insecure, everybody has their ups and downs. That's just part of being human. We have our moods, we just go through that, right? We're just in different places in our journeys, each and every person, so there is no shame in feeling afraid of certain things. You can share with someone that you feel comforted by, or you can take on advice from someone that you find genuine, things like that. So yeah, this is kind of the guidance of, if you feel pain, don't try to suppress it, express it so that it does not hurt you internally. And you've already learned a lot about how to deal with fears and insecurities, I feel, and this year is going to just bring you to greater balance. The Lovers is the combination of the divine masculine and feminine energies, so you're able to confront your fears, but you're not afraid of them. You're able to accept yourself, but you're not fighting with it, but at the same time you're transforming it to enhance your sense of self-will as well. So yeah, you're getting a lot of knowledge overall about yourself, about the people, the world, and so on. Great. Now let's see your general advice. We have Magpie, which says, re-evaluate your priorities. It is time to let go of what you no longer need. Yeah, this is the declutter vibe that I was getting. Then we have Peacock, which says, inherent wisdom is emerging at this time. Watch it and ready yourself for a rebirth. See, it already has inherent in it. So whatever wisdom is coming through, the lessons that you're learning, you already have this in you. It's just unexpressed, and we're finding new ways of bringing that out of us, right? It's sort of like, I feel like I can be a leader, but I'm not really sure because I've not proven it to myself yet. It's sort of those vibes that I'm getting. So this year is kind of practicing those intentions and wills and imaginations that you have. If you want to be a winner, let's say, or you want to be the best at a certain thing, instead of aiming to be the best, aim at making different choices, trying out different things, and kind of seeing what has been inhibiting you from being the best in the first place. Right, so letting go of those things and using what you already have within you, your inherent skill set, etc., will automatically lead you to greater success. So we don't need to fixate on the final goal. We can go at it one by one by making effective choices. Really feeling as though you might find someone else to help you through this. So it can be a business partnership or a romantic relationship that can help you through certain difficulties here. Does not have to be if you're not interested in love, but yeah, that's definitely an option. Okay. Then we have attack, pain, fear, judgment, and any form of separation are merely calls for help. Yeah, this is exactly the projection message that I was giving earlier. The external things that happen apparently to us is not really to us, it's kind of for us, so that our soul can kind of ask us to look inward a little bit. So when something is upsetting outside, it's often a result of suppressed upset inside, right? Which is why the encouragement is that whenever you feel upset, kind of express it. It could be through writing, a diary or something, or even talking to someone that you trust, right? Anything that you prefer. But either way, it's a call for help. So whenever you feel very, very alone or anxious or whatever the case is, depending on your circumstance, or kind of not really clear about how you can enact your ideas, it can be small or big ranges of emotions. But regardless, there is help. okay, throughout the year. If you want to translate all this knowledge into something more, you want to express it in a different way and you don't really know how, you can find great inspiration online through talking with people, through experimenting with things yourself. Oh yes, Page of Swords is also quite experimental, right? And in this year, you're going to be committing to one particular path. So again, it can feel like it's a huge choice and we don't really know if we should do it or not, are we ready for it or not, and so on. I remember I used to get lovers a lot when I had to choose tarot over engineering. Okay, I really used to get that, and I did have sleepless nights because it's an important choice, right? To really shift professions before I even began something very serious. So yeah, it can feel a little bit scary in the moment, but it's again leading you towards something that is more meant for you. It's going to enhance the way that you live and you function. Then we have Brahma, which is about creator power. This is the creator of the universe, basically, a form of that. And we have also a lot of knowledge and self-awareness that Brahma symbolizes, a creator of many universes and many worlds. So it's super important for this Brahma energy to really think about what the thoughts are, because for him, any thought he has is manifesting somewhere in some universe. So keeping purity and a clean observational mindset, also making effective choices, gathering more knowledge, and all these four heads, actually one is facing up to the sky. All these heads, they're basically, actually it's 5. Yeah, one is facing to the back and one is facing upward. So it's all 4 directions and also up into the sky. Anyway, it is gathering a lot of perspectives and a lot of knowledge from each and every different angle so that it can make the most informed choice. It's kind of like the 9 of Swords here. Do your research, take your time. It might be a painstaking effort, but if you want to be feeling very secure about your choices, you want to be informed about who you're dating or what you're committing to, do your research, take your time. There's no rush here. It's just the question of make an important choice, make an important commitment here, and use all of your knowledge and self-awareness to make that choice. All right. So it's like you've learned a lot about you and your priorities probably have changed in the previous year. And it's time to kind of enact that. All right. Then we have Tejas as well, which is about self-awareness and intelligence, having the courage to follow that intelligence as well. Both blue, so it's about self-expression again, being authentic to yourself, to others who are important to you, being able to understand the true intentions of somebody and also yourself, being able to convey that too. So writing, listening to someone, expressing yourself, singing, anything really that is floating your boat, that is going to be super important. Reading a lot, learning a lot is as well super, super important. Knowing of yourself is going to be important in the choices you make eventually, the things that you keep in your life, that you surround yourself with physically and also mentally. All in all, this year is about, it seems like, as though it is enhancing your knowledge base, your ability to listen to your own wisdom and guidance, to be able to understand your own experiences from a more objective viewpoint, such that you're making very effective decisions that lead you to a higher state of existence. Okay. Then we have the Orphan, which is an exercise in self-acceptance. It's like the difficult aspects that we have in our lives, starting from childhood till now, every reoccurrence of that same fear through different people or different circumstances, we need to see that as it is, for what it is, and practice acceptance for ourselves. So something unjust happening to us when we were powerless, i.e. when we were younger, for example, is not really in our hands to effectively or more proactively control in that given moment. So acceptance is not saying that you're okay with everything that happens, and everyone can be as unjust as they want and they can do whatever. It's not about that. It's more for ourselves instead of other people. It's like understanding our own circumstances and not feeling guilty or blaming ourselves for certain things that were absolutely not in our hands. So one question that really helps me whenever I get this card is, did I do the best that I could? Given my circumstances, given my knowledge at that time. So let's say I hurt someone and it was unintentional, then I ask myself, was there a better way to deal with that? Maybe I could have apologized at a different time, or I could have pulled this person aside and apologized or something like that. Or is it better to let it be because it was not that serious and I feel the guilt within, so I need to absolve it for myself, etc. Right? So have I done the best that I could have given my circumstances and my mindsets in that time? Right? Ideally, of course, we can take a lot of ideal actions, but the world is not ideal. Life is not ideal. There are ups and downs and each thing has a purpose. So the more we are able to accept the thing as is, the better we are able to understand what could have been done differently and what could we do next, instead of trying to change the past, because that can't be done. Acceptance also helps you understand you more and what you want out of life as well. Then we have, I'm not going to try to pronounce this, okay? But this is kind of coming full circle and creating new generation, new life as well. It's about finding great awareness. It's about completing a cycle, and the wisdom and the knowledge that you gather out of it is then very pivotal in creating a new tomorrow or shaping a more desirable reality for yourself. We have the moon in the center, which talks about more emotional balance and understanding. So I think there's a lot of emotional and spiritual growth for you throughout this year. You've already begun the journey. This one is more about you making certain choices. Like I said, decluttering. That's really standing out loud and clear. Of course, this is not a predictive reading. This is more guidance of what to do in order to make the best out of things. So, the external life could be very great, like earning a lot and etc. But still there could be a feeling of internal dissatisfaction, and that could be where this reading is more helpful for you. So if you want a more predictive reading, please check out the Pick a Card of 2023. But yeah. All right, now let's see your astro dice. Any last pieces of guidance, please? Pile 2. We have second house, Cancer and Mars. Okay, so any defensive energies that are there related to your sense of self-worth or financial security, those things need repairing and a lot of love. Cancer is about being very fiercely protective of your emotions and your intuition, that's why it's like the ultimate mother archetype. It's about the home, the family as well. Meanwhile, Mars is that defense and offense. It's about taking action towards something, etc. So find better balance and a better way to deal with your emotions or your family circumstances, or the childhood or the family home that you grew up in has gone through. There could have been certain changes or fears regarding that that were kind of out of your hands, but it could also act as a mirroring event of how we feel about ourselves, right? So like I was saying in the very beginning about generational traumas or fears, things like that could have come up. So yes, this year is going to be about dealing with that emotional side of things and finding greater balance. You're able to protect yourself as well. So it's not just about being vulnerable and being afraid of that, but rather accepting the vulnerable side and not being afraid at all about that. So if you have relationship fears, like you're afraid of committing to someone because you might get hurt, things like that, because you've been hurt before, not just in previous relationships but also going back way to your childhood, something like that, then those things are just being released this entire year so that you can form very healthy relationships. This, of course, a lot of this is choice based. It's a guidance. It's kind of optional for you to take or not to take, but yes, this is what is coming through for you right now. That's what I have for you, Pile 2. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the reading helped and that it resonates and that it helps you out throughout the year. So let me know your thoughts. And if you want a personal reading, you can reach me via Etsy. The link is in the description box in the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye. Hi Pile 3, welcome to your reading. We will get into what the guidance messages are for you for the year of 2023. I've broken this down into 3 major questions. One is what lessons or takeaways we have from 2022 that is benefiting you in 2023. And also what needs to be released, what is losing steam and all of that, so it does not need further focus from you in this year. That's the second question. And the third one is what perspectives / attitudes we need to develop in order to maximize the year as a whole. And then I'll get into your general guidance and you ask your dice. So let's get started with the first question. We have Chariot. Okay. And we have the Page of Cups. All right, so the lessons you've learned from 2022 is about focus, determination, steadfastness, being unafraid to move towards your goals, being compassionate and loving towards yourself, connecting to your childhood self perhaps, and finding more passion and determination through those projects. Page of Cups is also connecting with others authentically, so there could be some new friends that you built or new connections that you are building that you came into contact with in the previous year. What else? The lessons in greater levels of compassion and empathy, and also open-mindedness, open-heartedness, and so on. Kind of seeing the more optimistic side of things instead of being fatalistic. Page of Cups is a messenger related with love and compassion as well. So, how you can express your desires or your message in a way that is a little bit more, I'm not going to say diplomatic because the page is not so tactful, but how should I put this, in a more approachable manner, basically. So if you have a message to pass on, which is kind of the truth of things, it is just how it is, then just saying it in the same way that you found it might come across harsh to certain people. So Page of Cups is like, let's just first understand what is needed and what is desired before we start expressing things as they are. Now Page of Cups also indicates greater self-acceptance, so realizing your goals, appreciating your desires and acting upon them. If you were an artist or involved in intuitive fields, then last year could have been a flourishing in that regard. A lot of growth that has happened, plenty of foundation, new connections, loyal customers, or loyal desires and feelings, etc., that you can rely upon as well. So these things you're carrying forward into this year as well. These lessons are going to be super important and can help you grow even further in this year. So next we have the Page of Pentacles, and we have, we have the King of Wands. Okay, this is what is losing steam, or it does not need further focus from you. So there could have been a lot of different skills that you learned in 2022, and you might have finished your studies or so it does not need you to keep studying. Instead, you can just implement whatever you've learned. King of Wands is a leader figure, is an entrepreneurial spirit, and knows what they're doing. They've already gone through the stages of experimentation, being reckless, and then learning the limits of recklessness, what is creative versus what is just, impulsive, what is spontaneous versus impulsive, things like that. Could have been a lesson plan. This can also indicate that you were in a leader position in the previous year, like you're learning something, but you're already, working in a certain field. For example, you have your own business, but you're also doing your 9 to 5, or you are still studying in school, but you're trying to build something of your own, something of that sort, where you have a learning stance, but you're also a leader at that. So building your expertise, starting your thing, approaching people, taking initiative, all of these things are things that you've already done. And a lot of those qualities are going to be useful to you, but it can be that the leadership role itself is falling away. Not in the sense that you're losing your job or something. This is not a predictive video, so I'm not really sure about that. But the role that you take upon you, you're releasing that. For example, if you've trained your people enough, let's say you have, you know, your team members who are new to the place, or you're working in a new place, so, you know, you're adjusting to the space a little bit more. You've done the initiative taking, you've done the talking to people, you've done establishing your space and respect and all of that. So we don't need to keep emphasizing on those same points. Instead, we use our leadership not to appear as a leader, but to do other things that are going to grow us, right? Okay, so that's what's coming through. Losing steam is that. So it's not about being too forceful. Also, yeah, Page of Pentacles especially is all about practical things, you know, doing things slowly, savoring the moment, all of those things which are more time taking. Page of Cups is as well not very fast moving. It moves when it wants to move, when it feels right. So these things are going to be very important to you, doing what feels right instead of what necessarily makes sense. Okay, King of Wands and the Page of Pentacles are about, this is how things must be done, this is the procedure, this is how we learn things, this is how we experiment, you know, things like that. Meanwhile, the Page of Cups is more free-flowing. It's like, if I don't feel like, then I'm not going to do it. Yeah, so I feel you're taking on more of the feeling role, combined with, you know, strong focus towards those feelings and intuition, and less on what must be done, or what is an obligation, or what the specific procedure for something is. So no prescribed methods. All right, so attitudes and perspectives to adopt. We have Ace of Wands, which is super inspiring. It's the first seeds of inspiration, creative spark, and ideas as well. And we have the Tower. Interesting. So Tower is about making changes to the foundation. That's interesting because the King of Wands is already established in something. Now, Tower is like, let's shake things up. You know, we can't keep the status quo all the time, whether that is within ourselves or in the outside world. So how can we be more spontaneous? How can we break through and find greater freedom? There can be like stress tests as well, which, you know, we need to, because it's in the attitude you are adopting, I would say that, you know, you're testing your boundaries, you're seeing what works and what does not, you're trying to be more inventive and original. All of these things are going to be super helpful for you throughout this year to make the most out of 2023. So getting creative with things, being more spontaneous with things, not overthinking things that are. Ace of Wands really does not like to overthink. It's just this instant inspiration, and right away you're starting to write something, or you're starting to compose your own music, just dancing to that rhythm. Basically, there's no additional thought or strategy or planning that goes into things. Absolutely, like finding greater freedom is going to be the priority for you this year. That is trying to come through from your guides here. Tower is a major arcana card, so absolutely is asking you to make some changes, break down inhibitions. Yeah, Tower is a little bit drastic though, so it's like, okay, end it right now, that sort of attitude. If something does not fit, don't try to force it to fit, because yeah, that can really make the foundation of things brittle. One example I can give is if you have two different people working with you or for you who have very strong styles of expression, but they don't really go together, then instead of trying to force them to be together within the one team, you know, they can work according to their fortes in their independent spaces in order to have greater harmony happen. So that way you're breaking down the way the hierarchy works or the team works, and you're doing things kind of your way, and you're going with it as it comes. There's no rigid rules here. Tower is like, just do what you want, kind of. Like, the space is open, clear the space so that you don't have that, you know, this is the bureaucracy, or this is the way that things have always been, you know, traditions, etc. That is no longer holding you back. That's the attitude to adopt here for you. Wow, really grand. Fresh breathers, changing the way you do things. So breaking out of your limitations and constraints, visiting unexpected places, or talking to people you generally would not approach. Things like that can really shake things up and help you see things in a different light, and also find new unexpected inspiration. Look for unexpectedness, so try out things that you've never tried before but you've wanted to, and so on. It's a lot of adventurous spirit here going on for you. That's recommended. All right, then we have White Owl. It says the wisdom and messages of the divine are within you, which suggests that you have strong intuition, and that is also coming through with the Page of Cups actually. But the more you listen to it, the better you are in flow of it. So you will know when the time is right to make a large change, and you won't doubt it or sit with it for too long and therefore miss certain opportunities. Yes, now Ace of Wands, anything ace actually, comes really fast. It's just the first spark of something, so it can get lost very quickly. Okay, so in imagination, there's like, whoa, that's a really good idea. We should really develop on this. But then we go back to doing what we usually do, like making our meals and, whatever the thing is. So in that way, it is lost, and we forget about it the next day because we didn't write it down or we didn't act on it immediately. Now the Tower is like, act on it immediately. Make a certain change to make it very, very clear that you're going to act on this idea. So writing things down, it can make things a little bit more real than it would seem when we're just saying it to someone or thinking it to ourselves. So doing something that makes something very real and is drastically different to what you are used to is going to be very good for you. Stepping outside of your comfort zones and so on. All right. And also that when we're stepping outside of comfort, it can be scary. But again, if your intuition is on point, and it looks like it is, then you are going to be guided here. Owls are also a symbol of guidance, so your spirit guides would be more close to you throughout this year. Okay, then we have Turkey, which says, honor your own time of harvest, offer your gifts and blessings as service to the greater good. Yeah, so you stepping out of your own bounds and discovering new things about yourself is going to help you be of greater service to people around you, whether that is in a career form or in just, how you come across in the world, how you enable your community, things like that. And there is no rush here. Really, like, even though these are quite fast moving cards, these are things that will just happen. It's more intrinsically driven instead of the outside forcing you to do things. So yes, take your time. If you are not really sure, if you don't feel as though your intuition is not on point, then it's okay. We don't need to act on that specific inspiration. There are many more that will come to us, right? So in that process, we can learn to trust our intuition or learn to develop our intuition enough to be able to trust it. Also practice things, keep trying out different stuff, and seeing where your heart and your passions kind of lead you. There does not need to be a very strict, rigid deadline or a goal that you're trying to reach. Instead, just go with it and see what comes. The turkey is kind of that, like, you pick up a hobby and then you see what happens, not in the sense that you're non-committal, because with the Chariot there is absolutely some orientation. There is a certain level of focus and concentration you already have learned, so that is going to be useful in continuing the new sparks and inspiration that come to you, but it is in no way rushing you to finish something as soon as possible. Okay. Next we have Flicker, which says, new rhythms are coming into your life now. You are encouraged to trust and adapt. Yeah. So I feel you've already learned this with the Chariot and Page of Cups, and it's kind of being re-emphasized that lesson is important, to be adaptable to changes, be accepting of it, because it is going to help you find a lot of inspiration. The Tower, by the way, in any scenario, it only is painful when we resist the change. But in essence, change is inevitable in every area of life for each and every person. It's just that when we resist it, it does not show up fully. It kind of remains as a trauma, or it feels more drastic than it would have if we were a little bit more open. Okay, so trust and adapt, and things will make themselves clear with time. Next we have, when I focus on my inner light, I see the world through the lens of love. Yeah, so the lessons in self-love, respect, honor, brilliance. Like, we don't need external validation in order to respect ourselves or love ourselves for who we are. So that's basically what that's saying. And also honor your own time of harvest, in the sense of how much you can love yourself, or your own process of discovery is your own process. There's no like, we got to finish it in this year, right? There's no finish really. It's just one level of development, and then there's another, and then there's another, and so on. So yeah, take your time whenever you feel the need. But the orientation here, or the guidance here, is to focus inward, because you've done a lot in the external world, it seems like. Then we have, true healing occurs when I give myself permission to feel whatever feelings live below the triggers. Yeah, the tower kind of symbolizes this as well. Breaking down all of the facade, okay? To really unveil everything that has been toxic, rotting away underneath the surface, things like that, that keep bringing certain structures down. So, in life, in whatever area or aspect of life that constantly goes through a lot of changes or upheaval, we need to ask the question of what in the foundational sense is not working. What's the resistance here? What is stopping something from being more sustainable for the future? That can be related with, healing of a literal subject or an object, like, the house foundation needs to be fixed. But it can also indicate like a more internal sense of you don't feel worthy of certain things, or you need a certain condition to be met in order to be successful, things like that, right? So we need to look beneath the trigger. So, when we are feeling impatient, that is being triggered by something, by the lack of movement of something, we're feeling triggered. So we need to ask, why do I feel impatient? Where am I rushing to go? Why do I need to be elsewhere and not now, not here and now? So what is it that is an obstacle in feeling healed and peaceful? All of those things. The tower ultimately, by shaking things loose, is trying to bring greater freedom, greater harmony, greater peace, so on, than we are accustomed to, than we even imagine ourselves to be capable of. So yeah, this is push the imaginable, push through the limits of what you think you can do, because there's a lot more you can do, basically. Okay, wow, really good. And then we have Buddha. This is about peace and knowledge of the right now and right here, actually, what I was saying just now. Awareness of the self, awareness of the present moment, and the opportunities that are here right now and not somewhere else in the past or in the future. So the practicing mindfulness, stillness, again, this can be something quite uncomfortable for you, or you're not yet accustomed to these concepts. But yeah, this year is all about trying new and different things, which can expand your horizons a lot in 2023, because honestly, for each and every one of us, this year has a lot of capacity. There are so many major turning points in the year. The eclipses cycles are shifting. The huge planets, Pluto and also Saturn, they are changing signs. Jupiter is changing signs. So there's a lot going on, and it absolutely has so much capacity to bring like the greatest amount of fulfillment, creativity, and growth for each and every one of us in different ways. So yes, the more we are aware and observant of our current moment, the better we can understand the opportunities that are here right now. The aces, like I said earlier, you can be open-minded, but if we don't recognize it, or we don't commit to it, we don't really spend enough time with it, then it can easily be lost. And Buddha is just sit and observe for a moment. It's hard to do in the world nowadays, I suppose, but that's exactly kind of the tower card here. You'll be surprised at how much you discover about you, basically. Okay, Buddha is also that blessing of peace and prosperity. So there's a calm aura that is surrounding you. Like I said earlier, there are certain guides that are very much in your vibe, that kind of guiding you through a little bit more specifically this year. Whenever we have times of transition or upheaval, our guides become more active. So yeah. Next we have Lalita Tripura Sundari. This is about creative expression. It's also about sensuality. So take your time and do things as you feel is right, instead of, now is said to be the right time. So instead of doing what we should do or what we have to do, you're doing what you want to do and you desire to do. So enjoy it when you are doing that, okay? Spend full time and focus in that, because that's what you will end up manifesting more of in your life. Next we have tamas, which is about resting, hibernation, stillness, taking a pause, introspecting, reflecting, and also transforming in that silence. So silence is not meaningless. It's not just about being numb and quiet. It's about, you're not contributing more expression or more activity so that you can see the activity that already is. It does not mean the absence of everything. Okay, so tamas is as well, when you're sleeping, it does not mean that you're dead, right? You're sleeping, which means there's still something going on. There are dreams coming along. There are the subconscious mind is processing things. It can be that your guides and spiritual teachers are passing along certain messages which are very transformative to you, even if you are in a relatively dormant state, right? So yes, stillness, purposeful, and also will lead you to greater momentum when you wake up. So it's not just about keeping going that leads you to success, but rather, you go, you push yourself, and then you rest and relax, and you kind of take stock of everything that has been, to recognize the riches and successes you have encountered and what could be done differently, or what new do you want to explore. Is there some individual priorities you want to take care of before you move into a more professional sphere, or be in a relationship with someone, or take on a new project of sorts, right? Of course, stillness is balanced only if there is movement afterward, but given your current tendencies, it looks like you are a generally action-oriented person, and or you have worked through that in the year of 2022. So this year is going to be like rest, take your time, but still be purposeful. You're still moving, you're still focused, but it's a different way. Tamas also talks about stagnancy, so anything that has been just sitting there, dull and ineffective, kind of acting as a block, it's time to move out of those things by becoming aware of them first and foremost, and then replacing those things with things that are more awakening, enlivening, like this Lalita card over here. Kind of corresponds with the Tower and the Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands is the revival of life and inspiration. Absolutely. Okay, so anything that inspires life within you, those activities are things you can spend more time on. We have the Temple, which is again about observation. It's about ritual as well. So if rituals help you step into the state of stillness, then do so. If it is a physical location you like to visit, a quiet spot, a more private space for you, then that's where you can go. Prayers and meditations and offering, wishes and respect, all of that can help you as well to gain better insights from your own guides, whether you believe in gods, goddesses, gurus, whatever the case is. Either way, there is more space or more time for you to accept or inspire spiritual guidance to come to you directly instead of other sources, right? Also, I'm hearing your body is your temple, so take care of your body. Yeah, random, but yes, that's also a message I get. And we have the Ring. Yes, I'm so happy this card is here, because this again symbolizes the cyclical process of things, and that nothing is a linear thing, even though it seems like it from our limited vantage point. It can seem like, okay, now we gotta study, then we gotta do this, then we gotta do that, and then we have, there you go, success, happy. We have, marriage or other priorities, right? But it's really a cyclical process through all of these linear growth forms. So we go through the usual phases of being new to a place or new connections, then learning to observe and adapt according to our surroundings, then learning to imitate the people around us when we are learning something new, and then finding our own style of doing something, and then we go on to higher maturation, but then we again come down to, okay, so not really come down to, but begin again kind of to find greater satisfaction, greater fulfillment, more authenticity, right? So we're again, in a sense, in that beginning stage once more. It looks like you've reached a level of expertise. You've learned a lot in the previous year, this year, and you've also incorporated those things. You've done a lot, okay? But this year is asking you to step outside of the comfort zone entirely, do something unexpected, discover new limits and boundaries and so on. But it's not in a reckless way, but coming from a greater sense of self-realization in order to find greater balance and peace within. All right? Wow. So some more guidance for pile 3 viewers, please, for the year of 2023. We have Saturn, Sagittarius, and the 6th house. Yeah, your work ethic is still strong. Keep that strong and going. Be disciplined in your approach. Yeah, your body is a temple, against Saturn in the 6th house. So exercising more, being disciplined about that, or, you know, maintaining your diet or switching up your diet to be more restrictive or more healthy in some way. There could be some physical therapies that are being encouraged for you, for your physical, mental, emotional health and well-being. There could be certain goals that you're setting for yourself, but it's important to not be too rigid about that. Instead, yeah, have that goal, but, you know, then adjust as any changes come, because those changes are very purposeful. With Saturn, everything is about purpose, okay, kind of. What else am I getting? Yeah, Sagittarius is like related with your guides. So yeah, there can be a lot of guidance that comes through. There can be some travel you do abroad for work or with your workmates, or some travel you do outside kind of sparks new ideas of what you want to be doing, new projects that could inspire you. Yeah, there's new lands, new countries you could be exploring, new cuisines. 6th house is about diet, right? So new foods you might be trying out. That opens your world. Stay optimistic and open-minded. Learn a lot, as much as you can. Yeah, I feel like new perspectives and the new things that you try out can be very eye-opening for you this year. Okay, so yes, that's what I have for you, pile 3. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the reading resonated and that it helps you out. Let me know your thoughts, and if you want a personal reading, you can reach me via Etsy. The link is in the description box and the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye. Hi pile 4, welcome to your reading. Let's see what the guidance is for you for this year. I've divided this into 3 major questions. One is what the takeaways are for you, the major lessons you've learned from 2022 that you're going to be finding very useful in 23. And next question is what needs to be released in order to make the most out of this year. And the final question is perspectives and attitudes that we need to adopt in order to maximize 23. And then we'll get into some general guidance and also your astro dice. So let's see, what have you learned in the previous year that is useful now? First card we have is Lovers. All right. And the next card we have is the Hanged Man. So big year, 22 was a big year, seems like. We have 2 major arcana. You've learned a great deal. A lot about other people, a lot about partnerships and relationships in general, about self-love as well, finding balance within, making major choices, seeing different perspectives, the benefit of, you know, taking your time of things, kind of pausing, reflecting, and so on. You could have learned to make better choices by taking into account various perspectives of a certain problem as well, or you could have, you know, gotten in a partner to, you know, kind of talk about different ideas together, etc. So it could have manifested in many different ways, but ultimately the lessons were to be able to see a different side of the story. The Hanged Man is like distancing yourself from the subjective experiences in order to find the greater picture that is governing. So the overarching themes of your life, what you've been learning in life through your parents, through your school years, through just your individual makeup, your preferences, etc., society at large, and everything else that comprises our experience here, it could have become much more clear to you. So the choices you make could be in the way of changing your perspective of how you see a certain problem. Instead of feeling fatalistic, you might feel more optimistic. And if you were too optimistic before, then you are becoming more realistic, things like that. So there is an overall balancing out of how we see the world, what reality is, and what types of perspectives we need in order to make a whole picture happen. So choices is something that lovers represents, and we can't make effective choices if we do not have enough information, right? But it is also just as important to see what type of information we are taking into account, right? So these could have been some themes here in 22 that are going to be useful in this year. The people that you met in the previous year are also going to come along with you in this year, who are going to again help you out a lot. Okay, so any karmic lessons, any difficulties within relationships and so on, you might have learned to communicate better, or, understand your own priorities better. The type of partnerships you attract might have completely changed in the previous year. So that is continuing to be the case and is going to be very useful for you. All right, so what is needing to be released? We have the Knight of Swords. Yeah, this looks like a sword. And we have the Knight of Pentacles. That's interesting. We have two knights. They're very action-oriented. They have a lot of courage, a lot of activity going on, plenty of dynamism. So acting before we know the full picture, that's one thing needing to be released. But then acting too slowly despite having all of the information, that could be the other thing that we're releasing. It seems like we're trying to find a better middle ground in this year so far. But yes, another meaning with the Knight of Swords is impulsive choices, spontaneous decisions, or being reckless in the way something is said. So again, enhancing the way that you communicate with a partner, with close friends, or with any business partnership as well, if you're in that situation, that is coming through. So better choice of words. Knight of Pentacles can be kind of sitting on choices or sitting on something for longer than need be, or taking a very, very slow and steady approach. So that would mean that we have everything we need, but we still want to do our research, still want to make sure and keep making sure before we take any action. So in that process, we could miss certain opportunities, and that is being asked to release in this year. So less steady, not steady, but less slow, but not too reckless. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be more of a learning curve, honestly. If everything related with balance and finding the middle ground is sort of, we have to kind of go to the one extreme or the other, and then realize that we've gone to the extreme, and then recognize how to correct course, basically. But yes, there has been some lessons you have learned already about this finding of a middle ground, or kind of compensating for extremes. So this year is going to be about finding greater harmony within those oppositions or contradictions that we have within ourselves and the relationships around us. Okay, let's see what perspectives and attitudes we need to adopt. You got 3 cards, the other piles got 2, so I'm very curious. Okay, we have the 7 of Cups, building castles in air, kind of daydreaming, imaginative, creative type of vibe, making different choices and possibilities, contemplating on what would be most inspiring to us in our imagination. Also, what brings us closer to our dream life, manifesting that, using the power of words, communication, thought and intention to make something very realistic happen. There could have been a mental block as well in the previous year, where we thought that our dreams are much farther than we can imagine. So we kind of pushed that far away into the future. So like, if I don't do this right away, then the thing I want 10 years from now will not happen. So instead of planning really far off into the future, or really local to like, what are we going today? So not too short term, not too long term. That's what is being asked of you, basically. Okay? A little bit scattered expression, I know. But I hope it is clear. It's kind of the middle ground thing that I was talking about earlier. Anyway, then we have the Judgment, which is about clarity and awakening. It's about the truth as it is. Okay? It's also referring to soul calls. And we also have strength. Great. So 2 major arcana. It is about embracing your wild side, kind of understanding that you have a duality within. No one's a complete angel, no one's a complete demon of sorts. We all have our bad days and our good days, etc. So yeah, accepting that and working with it instead of trying to oppose your own self. So you don't have to fight yourself and you don't have to fight the world. Strength is about, like, she's able to, in this imagery especially, is able to make friends with the most unlikely people, the truce when everything kind of goes to war. Everyone wants to destroy the snake here, but she's like, well, come on now, like, it has its own place. Perhaps it does not belong in this setting, but it does has its own purpose and might be better suited in a different surrounding and so on. So we don't need to wage war against everything. We just need to find a better place to keep certain things or aspects of ourselves. Strength is also find courage. You have a lot of it. Use your stamina, all of your energy to move towards greater stability of the self, to have more self-confidence, self-esteem, and so on. Judgment is move towards your soul purpose, your soul calling. You will find more people who resonate with you, more people where you have to fight with them less, or you don't need to ask them to bring you a certain feeling or so, but you're able to cultivate it yourself, and they also reflect the same quality. 7 of Cups is manifest your reality, I'm hearing. I don't feel that with the other decks, but in this specific imagery, I feel as though you can manifest things. So instead of feeling as though your goals are 10 years away, you can make it happen in this particular year. And yes, it would need some strong choices that you need to make, or a certain level of balance to find within to make it happen, but it is absolutely not 10 years from now. All right? Yeah, that's basically it. What else is Judgment? Yeah, it's about finding more freedom and liberation as well. Oh, okay, so I need to mention this. Whenever we are operating within extremes, being flung from 0 to infinity or from one extreme to the next, and we have trouble finding balance, there is usually a suppressed or an oppressed part of ourselves that is the missing key in finding that balance. For example, if we are secretly afraid of relationships, I'm just taking that example because I see lovers here. It does not have to strictly apply to love relationships, okay? So yes, if we are afraid of relationships, there are 2 things that can happen. One is that we shut ourselves down completely. We're like, no relationships for me, thank you very much, I'm gonna focus on other things. Or that is a form of avoidance or escaping the fear. And the other form is that we get into the wrong types of relationships and we go through them very frequently. But at the baseline of both these behaviors that we show, we're also we're kind of quite fearful of what might happen if we end up in a healthy relationship, which would mean now we have to sustain it, we have to keep it going, right? There's no reason to leave someone who is perfect for us, for example. So yes, when we have a certain fear that we have suppressed, and it might not be a conscious thing, of course, since it is suppressed, but that is something that stops us from finding balance. It's the missing key point. It's the pivot realization. So I feel with the Judgment and Strength, there will be certain guidances and realizations that come to you that is going to help you find a better boundary, balance, and also acceptance of your various sides to yourself. So not being afraid of fear, not being afraid of and also not being overconfident. Strength can be the ego part as well. So we need to listen to our ego, we need to work according to it, but we don't need to succumb to it. Neither do we need to be fully spiritual, which denies the physical experience, right? We are both things wrapped in one, and we need to respect the space that each and everything occupies. Yeah. Because when everything is as it should be, or as it is in its own respectful place, we are much more equipped. We have much greater strength to follow our focus in whichever direction that we choose, and we're less prone to extremism, basically. Okay, so yeah, that was one example, but it can apply to different areas of life. Now let's see some more general guidance. We have Eagle, which says you are learning all aspects of spiritual connection and reaching new heights. And we have, Condor, which says hold the highest vision for your life. You now possess the ability to move past any hurdles. Yeah, this is be brave to dream and dream big. And don't imagine that it can't happen or it will happen only like a million years later or something, because it's really kind of in your hands. The Seven of Cups again emphasizes that the limitation is literally your imagination. If you can dream it, you can make it happen. And yes, the realizations that you're getting about yourself, the spiritual connection and so on, you can talk about deepening an existing bond, reviving more passion, meeting them more often, etc. if you're at a distance. But this can also indicate that, internally you are rising a lot, raising your vibe, you're changing your perspectives, and also your guides could be more active this year who are helping you reach this stage. I feel a more subtle realization instead of a full-blown epiphany. Because I feel you've already begun this journey in 2022, you're kind of taking that to a whole other level in 23, right? So it's not like the tower type of energy, but it is absolutely very, very profound. Yeah, you can move past any hurdles. That's very nice. You have plenty of protection here. Strength card also talks about protect your energy, be selective about where you put your focus, who you connect with, what you're spending your time on, things like that. All right, next we have my happiness is a direct reflection of my level of faith in the universe. Kind of goes without saying. I don't know if it needs further clarification, but let's see. We have the universe works fast when I'm having fun. Then we have in every moment the universe is conspiring to bring me toward right-minded thinking and the energy of love. Yeah, so meeting your soul tribe, your soulmate, again, whatever it is you're looking for, depending on your priority or your stage in life. But yes, this is saying that the universe, through its weird language, must admit, right, through its very strange language, is trying to guide us to something that is more freeing for us. It does not want us to settle for something that that is much less than what we deserve. But oftentimes we're the ones who keep resisting it because we believe as though we don't deserve a certain thing, or that we deserve a lot more than we are actually capable of. So either underestimating or overestimating our capacity. But the universe, being that it is absolutely larger than each one of us and is a collective makeup of our entire existence, past, present, and the future, also the consciousness that we have, it absolutely is a lot more objective. And while we may not understand how it works, it still is pushing us towards a place where we can be more fun, we can enjoy life. So universe works fast when I'm having fun is like daydream and imagine. That's what is being asked again and again with the Seven of Cups. You know what's interesting? Even though we have two major arcana here, I'm constantly feeling drawn to the Seven of Cups, as if this is the biggest piece of advice for you, and the others are like more supplements and like smaller things, and this will happen anyway because these are major arcana, these are major themes, and they have an element of personal drive, but it also has a lot of universal interferences or guidances that come through, and they will only come when the time is right. We can't force it to happen. Meanwhile, the Seven of Cups is more in our hands, and we can practice this every day. So doing something that makes you feel happy, or imagining a certain place, a relationship, something, anything that makes you really happy, is going to be very useful for you. And the universe keeps, working really fast when you do that. When you're enjoying something, you're fully in it. And that inspires kind of the people around you, the circumstances around you, which leads to the manifestation of a certain dream. And Yeah, for those of you looking for relationships as well, there could have been a lot you've learned in the previous year. And yeah, you could be going perhaps oscillating from, someone who's very adventurous, free-spirited and so on, versus someone who's super steady and sturdy and responsible, reliable and so on. This could be a year where you find that middle ground. Okay? But it is absolutely, that's an external manifestation which may or may not resonate, of course, because different priorities, and it's not a predictive video anyway. But the judgment and the strength basically says finding that balance within is going to help you find someone who is just as balanced on the outside. Your happiness is going to be an indicator of a level of faith in the universe. In a sense, are you holding on to things that are not in your control? Because that's really not in your hands, right? So we don't need to hold on to it. If there is something you can change, go ahead and change it. If you're not able to change something because it depends on external circumstances, there is no point in worrying about it anyway. Yeah, so that's basically what that card is saying. Next we have Bhuvaneshwari. And we have Dhumavati. Alright, so this is about letting go of disappointments. Things that have not worked out, it's fine. You've learned from them and that was their purpose. That's it. There is no absolute failure of anything. We try, we fail, we learn. Next time we try again, differently, we succeed, we learn. Or if we fail again, we find another thing that does not work. So failure is not really as absolute as we are trained to believe or the world kind of showcases. It's really about this does not work. That's it. Right, that's basically it. And failure, the word itself is a more dramatization of that same feeling. But this here says, let go of disappointments. It was not for you. It is not meant for you. You do not belong in each and every space. Each and everything does not belong in each and every space. Everything has its own time, its own region of working, its own limits and so on. And we need to respect that in order for the full operation of things. For example, the liver cannot breathe for you. The lungs will. Right? And the liver cannot be like, no, lungs, you gotta relax, you gotta chill, okay? I'm gonna get this done for you. It cannot. Even if it promises that, it cannot, because that's not its function, right? Similarly, lungs cannot do what the liver can, right? So yeah, the Dhumavati is basically emphasizing that things that are gone were not yours to begin with. So let those things go. Whatever that area of life is pertaining to. And Bhuvaneshwari is about making space again. It's related with the moon, about fertility, relates with intuition. It's the divine feminine energy, and it's like rolling with the tides, intuitively being very connected with your subconscious mind, understanding your own triggers, understanding that there will be mysterious forces at play all the time, and we need not be afraid of them, but we should not ignore them either, right? And disappointments in creation, you've tried something and it did not work, for example, it's okay. You learned a lot. If you objectively look at it and not from a sorrowful place or not from a fearful state, you can see just how much you have learned from those things. And you may or may not directly use those skills in the future, but either way, the philosophical viewpoint and the perspectives that you got from those things are going to be invaluable for you in this year. So nothing is a waste, but things that are gone, let them go. Living in the past does not really help anybody at any point, and it only encourages the past to keep repeating. So it's important to understand and then let it go and move on to the next stage, because we can control the now, or we can deal with the now. And that's it, not really the past or the future. So Bhuvaneshwari is like make space. 7 of Cups as well, very interesting. Again, we come back to this, right? It's like if you want something like this to happen, let's say you want to buy a castle. I know, crazy imagination, but let's go with it. If you want a castle, you gotta make space for that. Getting a land or going to a country where that is possible. Or developing certain skills that encourage castle behavior, sort of, or castle mentality. Treating your own home like a castle, kind of creating that same vibe in a smaller scale. So miniature world building, but you're doing that in an idealistic setting. So let's say you want to buy a house or build a house that looks a certain way, and you're not able to do that because the external world is an inhibition of sorts. That does not mean we cannot do that in our space given our current resources. So build your own miniature house and do it the way you like. That would be like making a space. Okay, that was a small example, but yeah, that can really help you. And it works quite literally, honestly, and it's a very effective form of manifestation too. All right, next we have no way. We have the vessel again, which talks about that space and fertility once more. So I'm not going to repeat what I said, but yeah, it's really emphasizing make space and it will be filled. And we have the heart. Okay, do what your heart tells you, go where the heart tells you. Also pay attention to your emotions. There could be some heart healing that needs to be done. Making more space within the heart to have more passion, more life, more partnerships or healthy partnerships and so on. Again, evaluating your feelings, letting go of past disappointments, all of that is connected with the heart as well. So working with the heart chakra is super important. Connecting with the feminine figures in your life or understanding the feminine figures in your life is as well going to be useful. Doing something creative just for the sake of expression, that can really show that you want to make space in your life for that. So many times, we're complaining that we don't have time to exercise or we don't have time to paint or draw or sing or any other hobbies. We're constantly saying that and affirming to ourselves that we don't have time. Instead of saying what we don't have, we could look at, okay, so what could we do? What is manageable? Maybe not a full-blown art piece in a week or a month, but maybe we could just pick up a brush or go to the art store, kind of feel inspired by what already is. It's the very, very little things that lead to much bigger things down the line. And it's really, this year is asking you to let that imagination free and don't inhibit yourself. Make space for everything that you want in your life. Don't talk about what cannot be done. Okay? Wow. Quite loving and so inspiring for you guys. Very nice. Next, some more advice for pile 4. Yes, we have Jupiter, we have Taurus, and we have the 6th house. Take care of your physical body, your physical environment. It's about the small little things that will definitely lead to much larger things. When Jupiter is there, everything expands. So you might think that you're just making space right now. You're just doing little things for the sake of your sense of self-peace and, how rich you feel in your own local environment. But Jupiter is like, hey, I see you're trying. So how about I lend you a hand and make this amazing for you? Okay? So before you know it, your grand schemes, your grand imaginations and your dreams are coming true bit by bit. Okay. What else am I getting? Oh yeah, there is a chance to earn money by doing something fulfilling. But we gotta make some space for it. Yeah, so the same examples that I gave. What else? Yeah, spiritual growth and expansion, absolutely. We saw that already in the very beginning. We saw this with the condor and the eagle as well. It's a lot of personal growth you are going through. It's just getting you to a more healthy state for yourself. Also enhancing your connection with the universe as a whole. You might also be understanding how the universe talks or what exactly works. Like if you see the perspective like this, is the universe blessing you or is there still some losses that need to be dealt with? But I feel it is a lot in your hands in this year, especially with the 7 of Cups. There will still be interventions, but they are more like guidances. They're more gentle. With the vessel and the heart as well, there are realizations and awakenings, but it awakens in the heart. It's more emotional in nature. It's not really based on external circumstances so much. right? It's more the inner world that is impactful. But yeah, if you're curious about the predictive side of 23, you can check out the pick a card reading. But yeah, for the guidance, it's mostly emphasizing you have guidance from the higher realms, but you're also going through your own self-expansion that is going to help you find greater authority in your own personal space. All right, so make the most out of it. And that's what I have for you, Pile 4. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the reading resonated and that it helps you out. Let me know your thoughts. And if you want a personal reading, you can reach me on Etsy. The link is in the description box in the comment below. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye.